Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now as you know, I'm up here at Oak Lodge and I'm making some festive material for you to keep you entertained over this middle point of the winter, get you through the darkest days with a bit of uplifting material. I'm answering questions that you've sent in and I would encourage you, send me a question and I'll try and get to it over the next few weeks. Now today's question has come from Connor. And he has said to me, what would you say are your 3 personal rules for day-to-day living? These could be anything from treatment of other people to how you treat yourself. That, Connor, is a really good question. It's one which made me sit down with my pen and my journal and reflect upon what rules do I live my life by. Because, you know, I know many people who just live day to day. They have no plan. They have no code by which they set their own life journey. And if you live something of a chaotic life, it becomes a chaotic existence. I met many people who lived like that when I worked in various, I worked in law enforcement for over 20 years. And I met many people who just lived day to day. They had no grip over, their finances, over the quality of their life, over their health, their well-being. And it normally has an unsatisfactory outcome for people who don't live their lives by rules. So there we go. There is a psychological effect to pay if you don't plan for your future. And I have got 3 rules here. Took me a while to work out what I was going to share with you. But these are my personal rules that I live my life by. And number 1 is practice self-care. All right? This is the biggest one. The thing I've learned on my own journey through life is that you have to look after number 1 first. You are the number 1 priority in your life. Now, you might not want to think that. Many people, particularly if you're a parent or something like that, you will always say, well, my children come first. My children are the most important thing in the world. I'm a parent and I would subscribe to that ideology. That is the philosophy by which I lead my life. You would give your life for your children in a heartbeat. It is the human condition. Any animal would do the same. But when it comes to day-to-day living, nobody's asking us to give our lives, right? The way that we can look after those around us the best is fundamentally by looking after ourselves. It is a bit like when you go on a commercial airliner, all right? And you're sat there at the beginning waiting to take off, and the cabin crew, they get up and they'll give you the safety brief. And they will say, in the event of an emergency, the oxygen masks will drop down. Make sure you put yours on first before you help the people on either side of you. And that is often how I think about self-care. Because let's be honest, all right? If I don't look after myself, if my well-being is badly affected, I can't really be of any use to my children, to my wife, to my parents, the people who rely upon me in this world to be useful to them. If I've fallen apart, if I am unwell, if I have got to a stage where I am not capable and functional because I haven't practiced self-care, well, I am failing in my duty to help those people. So sometimes self-care, putting yourself first, making yourself the priority is a very important thing. Your psychological and your physical well-being are dependent on it, believe me. And let's look at some of the things we can think about. Eating well, all right? Some people will say, I'm so busy, I'm running the kids around, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I don't have time to eat properly. Then you end up, losing control of your health because you're not eating well. You don't have the energy and the vibrancy that you need in life because you're not practicing self-care. Sleep is another one, which often falls by the wayside when you're chasing the ideals of the life that you want to lead. Being that provider, going to work for 10 hours a day, coming home, running the kids to sports clubs and this, that and the other. Being there for your partner. Sometimes you have to reflect on it and say to yourself, do you know what? I just need to take a week off. I don't care how, take a week off going to sports club. I just can't do it. I need to catch my breath. Physical activity often goes by the wayside. If you're working and working and working because you need the money to get better things, to go on nicer holidays, if you're not taking exercise, well, surely your physical health will decrease. But physical activity is the most amazingly good thing for your mental well-being. And also, it helps you sleep better, let alone makes you feel better between the ears. If you are stopping or not doing physical activity because you're not practicing self-care, you need to perhaps rethink that decision. And sometimes people give up their hobbies, right? Because they are so convinced they don't have the time to do these things. Hobbies or having a passion in life are fundamentally part of the human condition. How can you be the best version of yourself if you are not engaged in stretching yourself, enjoying things around you, having something to look forward to? How can you get through those awful night shifts doing repetitive work or having to travel all the time with your job if you haven't got something to look forward to, even if it's just fishing on the weekend or reading a good book? We all need a hobby, a passion in life. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I bumped into you into the street and said to you, what's your passion? And you can't answer that question easily. You can't tell me what you are passionate about in life, which isn't your job or your family. There's a hole that you need to fill. And relaxation. We really do have to focus on relaxation. It doesn't just happen. You maybe have to set aside a night a week to watch a movie with your wife or husband or partner. You know, you need to do whatever you can to relax from time to time. It might go against the grain for you to do that. You think, I can't, I've got too much to do. Believe me, self-care should be at the heart of all the decisions that you make. Because if you're not firing on all cylinders, how can you help other people? How can you be the best version of yourself, the role model, the breadwinner, the patriarch for the family or the group of people that mean so much to you? Don't put aside your needs for the needs of others. Now, that's one rule, but I can give you a little tip on how I exercise self-care in my life, and that is journaling. All right, I say this all the time, but keeping a journal or a diary, whatever you want to call it, is just a useful way of setting down and recording things like how much exercise you take, the food that you eat, the goals that you have set yourself. Right? If you write it down in your diary, today I'm going to go for a 20-minute walk or a half an hour run, or I'm going to put aside a half an hour to read a book, or I'm going to go to, the Rotary Club for a meal with my friends on Wednesday night. If you write it down in the diary, it allows you to keep track of it. You can't then say, oh, I forgot to go, or I didn't have time. Plan things around it. Get the job done. And a diary becomes a useful assistant in assisting you to do that. Okay, now my next rule to live your life by is something quite simple. It is self-development. And it's one of the reasons why I set up this channel, to develop myself, and in so doing, to help develop people who come on this journey with me to Chap Nirvana. Because, let's be honest, all right, we only get one life, and it is utterly dependent on us to drag as much out of that lifespan as we possibly can. And in order to do that, I try and have an inquiring mind, all right? I always am looking to learn something new, to get a little bit better at the things I do right now, and maybe to acquire new skills along the way, which will help my journey be that little bit slicker, a little bit easier, a little bit more fun, enjoyable, and passionate for me as an individual. Now, how I do that is different for me as it may be for you. For me, to get the best version of myself, I try and read quite a lot. I like to read fact-based books rather than fiction. I like to come out here into the woods. Bushcraft has been a fundamental part of my life for decades. I like spending time in nature, seeing nature unfold, learning how to light a fire without using matches. All these skills which to me are part of my self-development. Everybody's self-development is a little different because we all have different interests, hobbies, passions that we want to follow. But I always say to people, think of how you can expand yourself within the world or the areas which you are currently interested in. just by going a bit further, learning a bit more, taking more of an interest in it. And another thing you can do, and I advocate for this, I'm helping somebody with some mentoring or life coaching at the moment. And one thing I said to him in our last meeting was, do something each month which makes you feel uncomfortable. Now, it doesn't matter what that thing is, all right? It could be just going to a meeting in your local, you might be passing the community notice board in your town or village or city, and you see that there's, a meeting taking place of a group of people. I saw one the other day, Krishna Consciousness Evening, in a local cafe in my town. And I thought to myself, I'll go to that. I've got no interest in that ideology, but I thought if I go to it, I'll feel a little uncomfortable. But I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to stretch myself by going there. I'm going to have to courage up to get in there. I'm going to man up. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to sit through it. I'm going to interact with people who come from an entirely different background and have a different set of values to me. But I will learn something in that process. That is something you can apply to your life right now. If you want to consider how you can improve self-development in your life in a very simple way. Practice that. Do one thing each month which will make you feel uncomfortable. Because what is the worst thing that can possibly happen? The worst thing is that you spend an hour doing something you don't really like, and you've learned something anyway. You've learned that you don't like it, and you've probably met other people who have a different mindset to you. You take something away from that experience. However, if you go along and you like it and you make friends and it becomes an integral part of your life, it's a win-win situation. Set that as a goal in your journal. Do something that makes you feel uncomfortable in the next month. Tell me what you're going to do. Now, my third rule is a relatively simple and straightforward one. Try and make as many connections as you can when you're on your journey. Because this life, it is a long and winding road before you get to the end at Chap Nirvana. And it can be a very lonely and desolate place if you don't have friends, you don't have family, or you don't have companions on that journey with you. And for me, my path has been immeasurably eased by having connections with people around me. My earlier professional life, I was in the military. I still to this day have relationships with people who I knew 30 years ago in the military. I worked in law enforcement for 20 odd years. I've got some very close personal friends who I met on that journey. I've got friends I have met outside my work and my private life, but I will say I don't feel I have enough friends because I don't think anybody can have too many friends, or maybe enough. Because the more people we share our lives with, the better, the richer, the stronger it will be. Because your friends, and your family of course, become your support network when times get tough. All right? When you hit that buffer in your life, maybe a bereavement, maybe the loss of a job, maybe a health situation, you will need to hold your hand out and ask for help sometimes. And it is your friends, your family, the connections that you've made on your life journey who will be there to support you, to help you, to get you through it. Of course, it's a two-way street. By having friends, you are there for them. You are the hand which they reach out to when they're in those situations too. It's a mutually beneficial situation as we go through life. We enjoy each other's company and we are there to help each other at the times of strife and need. So I would say that cultivating as wide a circle of friends and associates as possible is probably my third rule that I would choose to live by. Now for men it's hard. I know for men making friends when we get to a certain stage in life is really difficult. And I've worked hard at it. Earlier this year I crossed an ocean to go to another continent, to be present for a new friend of mine who was getting married. And I was present at his wedding as his best man, and nothing gave me greater joy than experiencing the special moment in a friend's life. That is the joy of friendship. It doesn't matter distance, it doesn't matter time or background or anything like that. When we make connections, they are so valuable and important to us. They can make a difference in our lives. So there we go. Those are the 3 rules by which I have chosen to live my life. Let me know your 3 rules. If I'm way of the mark, or perhaps I missed something out, let me know what you think. Well, there we go. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, click the subscribe button. You can support the channel by buying me a coffee. You could even leave a comment. You could just drop me an email. Or if you want to be a patron and get more deeply involved with what we do here at the Chap's Guide, you can pay about £3 a month, and then you'll get the additional video content which I make every week exclusively for my patrons. And also I have a dialogue over on my Patreon channel which is exclusive to them too. And you'll find the links to all of that in the show notes below. So, until the next time, live life by your rules, and I will see you again very soon.